Well, brothers, my volume might be a little bit low because I'm not using an external mic and I'm a little further away from the camera right now. But I'm here at our Kingdom Hall and I wanted to show you what SoundBox feels like in a live environment. So what we've got here is our computer, and this is our sound console. It's at the back of the hall, and this is just a normal desktop computer, and we have a video card in it that gives us 3 video outputs. So one's going to our regular monitor, one's going to our timer monitor. Now this monitor is on an arm and it can flip back around and face the stage so that the brother from the stage can see the timer. This is our timer monitor, but I want you to see it as I'm doing this. But normally it would be facing the stage. And basically we have 3 congregations using this. We have 2 English and 1 Spanish. And so we have individual logins for each congregation, so everyone can have their own individual options, settings, and have their own environment and stuff. Now the console, when we come in, we have to flip a couple switches. One switch flips our power on for all of the equipment here. We leave our computer on all the time, but the switch turns our mixer and all of our other equipment on. Then the second switch turns our TVs on at the front of the hall. You'll notice, you'll see in a minute, you'll see the logo. And basically, they should just stay black until they receive a signal. They're hooked up via HDMI, and we've got an 8-way splitter that splits this signal from the computer out, and you can have it go to 8 different things if you needed to. In this case, we have it going to 3, so the 2 TVs and the projector, and then 1 more in the back school, so we have it going out to 4, and we have room for expansion. But anyway, so I would come in, or the sound console operator would come into the Kingdom Hall. They would turn the power on, the TVs would come on. On the computer, they would log into whichever congregation they're going to represent. And should get your whatever environment that you've set up for your desktop. In this case, I've created just a wallpaper that gives the name of our congregation. That way the brother that logs in knows he's on the right Windows login. And then also just reminding them that they need to launch the SoundBox program. So you see that on the TVs, but really what we want to see up there is the year's text, and we'll see that whenever the next step that the brother running the console would do is he would launch SoundBox. When he starts SoundBox, we should get whatever year's text for the language we're using. Also, you notice it automatically starts playing. It automatically started playing the background music for us. So we start SoundBox, we get our year's text, we get the background music. So at this time, the brother running the console would go ahead and take the time to make sure everything else is set up. You know, make sure microphones have batteries in them. Make sure that about 5 minutes till that he dials up and connects into KH Comp and gets the people on the phone connected. Then he'll basically be ready to go. So once the chairman goes up to the platform, what he would do is come over and hit the stop button for background music so that brother can speak and not have music in the background. And then the brother's going to introduce the song. Now, I'm going to run through a Sunday, what a brother would do on a Sunday, and then I'll run through what a brother would do on a midweek meeting. So notice, being Sunday, there's no song. The first song is not auto-populated, and that's because the speaker will tell us what song we're going to sing. So you'll just take that song, whatever number it is, and you'll type it in, and then it should tell you the name of the song. And so then we'll just go ahead and introduce the first song and sing it. You notice at the front of the hall, the TVs are displaying the lyrics to the song. This can be turned off or on depending on if your body of elders wants it on or not. This way the congregation can just look up at the front and sing the song without needing a songbook, or those visitors that don't have a songbook would be able to sing along with the music. So after the opening song, the brother would, the chairman would introduce the speaker, and so the console operator would go to timer. He would go to the Sunday tab and he would start the 30-minute talk timer. So this, remember, this would be flipped around facing the stage, and the brother giving the talk would be able to watch his timing as it ticks down. And then, of course, once his time runs out, we would stop that, and then the chairman would go ahead and introduce the watchtower conductor or the watchtower overseer, and then he would start his timer. So then the watchtower overseer would be watching the timer. He'd be able to manage his time from watching this display. So once that's done, we would stop, and then of course we would need to go to the middle song we skipped, but we would have played it. But now we're going to play our closing song. And so there at the front you see the lyrics again. And after a few seconds, it should start scrolling so that we can kind of keep up with the words for us. So there you go. So we close the meeting out. And then once the prayer is said, we would hit the background music. And we just let it play our background music while everyone's associating. All right, so now we're going to do a midweek meeting. So let's say the brother would come in. So the brother would come in, he would start the sound console, make sure power's turned on, he would launch SoundBox. This is for midweek meeting. You notice as soon as you launch SoundBox, you get your year's text in whatever language you launched it in, and then you'll get your background music. So then the brother will, this will be auto-populated, the songs, because it's going to know what all the songs are, because it goes out on the internet and gets them. So the brother would get up on the stage to start the meeting, and so the operator would stop the background music, and he would go ahead and play the first song. We get the lyrics, and we'd be able to sing along to the song. And then the speaker would get up, the chairman would have his 3 minutes. He would have his 3 minutes for his opening comments. And once he's done with his opening comments, he would introduce the 10-minute part, the first talk. And that brother would have his 10 minutes. And once he's finished, we would do the digging for spiritual gems. That brother would have his 8 minutes. And then whoever's doing the Bible reading, they would get up and they would have their 4 minutes. Now, since this is a student talk, if he went overtime, the console operator could ring the bell, or the chairman could have his iPad or an Android tablet or phone with the app, and he could ring the bell if he wanted to. And once we're done with the treasures part of the meeting, we'd move on to the ministry part. Now, if it's the meeting with the 3 videos, there'll be a check mark. If there's not, there'll be the 3 parts. This week was the 3 videos, so we'll open that up, and the brother would need to be able to play those videos for the congregation. And so he'd go into media, make sure your media calendar is checked, and make sure you're on your right week. Since I was on the weekend, it didn't show these, but I just went back a week, so this would be this week's. So then we're going to watch the first video. You just click on the video itself and hit play.
We all need comfort at times, but where can we find it?
I guess from our family and friends.
Those are definitely good.
So when that video is finished, then the brother will talk about it, and then he'll ask for the second one to be played.
The back page asks this interesting question. What is the kingdom of God? Something
then that one finishes up,
Others think as a result.
and then we'll listen to the third one.
As humans, all of us have a need to be loved by other people. But what about our relationship with God? How can we know if He cares for us?
All right, and we finished up with that. And then let's say we move on to the timer, and we go into the next part of the meeting. And let's say the second part is the part that's going to watch the video. So we'll go ahead and start the timer. The brother will introduce the video. So we'll come over here and click on that video and hit play, so that the congregation can watch that final video of last week.
In October 2014, an announcement was made at the annual meeting introducing JW Broadcasting. What a blessing from Jehovah this proved to be. Many have expressed...
So when that's all finished, then we're done. Now let's say we move on and we stop that timer and we move on to the congregation Bible study. And notice what the console operator can do. He can go into images, and as we're going through the part, he can put the images up on the screen for whatever particular study, the Bible study or the Watchtower study or whatever we're doing. And then he can just move on to each of the images and show those images to the congregation as we're asked to look at them in the magazines or the publication. Real simple, not much to it really. Now, one thing that I'll mention, so that's really what is involved with a Sunday meeting and a midweek meeting and what it looks like here at the congregation. A couple of things I'll show you with SoundBox is you can also do a website, and you can project the website onto the TVs. So say, we're asked to, get something or do something on the website, we can put those up. And then the operator back here, he can click mirror, and he can go ahead and get what's showed up here on the screen, and then he can move from different screens for the speaker, and he can follow the speaker's direction and go where he needed him to go. And what's interesting is on the fly we could create another shortcut. Let's say we wanted to go to regularjw.org. So I created a shortcut on my desktop, and I can just drag it over here, and then I can click on it and I can play that one. Sometimes we've had parts where we've had to go to the website and show the friends how to use the website, and this would allow you to do that, because the brother back here could mirror it, and then he could follow the brother's direction and click on what he needed him to click on and open what he needed him to open, and the friends could follow along and see that. So that's another thing that SoundBox does for us. Also, it'll let you do PDF files if you wanted to do a presentation in PDF, and then it'll also let you do audio tracks. So if you download an audio, and we did one of those in a few times at our meeting, you could download an audio track and you could play it there. And all of these screens you can drag and drop stuff. So you can drag and drop a video into there, you can drag and drop a website or a PDF in here, and you can drag and drop an image or an audio track into here. And then you can at any time click this folder, and it opens the folder and shows you what's in the folder if you need to. And you can delete anything, or you could pull something over to it anytime you want. So really, that's kind of a rundown of SoundBox and how it really works in Kingdom Hall, and how really it makes everything nice and simple. There's not a lot to setting SoundBox up. The software is free. In other parts of the video, the 3-part series you'll be watching here, I'll show you what website to go to get the SoundBox software. And Setting it up in your congregation, of course, it just runs on a normal PC. You've got to have video outputs for a regular monitor, for a timer, and for your TVs or your projector screen. So obviously you'd have to go out into a splitter of some sort to get to those, and that's how we're doing those. Anyway, we'll move on to our next part. Our next part is going to be showing you what the program looks like in a test environment and how the program basically works. We're just going to do a demonstration of what we did here, but in a close quarter test environment. And then our final part of this three-part series is going to be an up-close discussion of SoundBox and all of its menus and how it works. So thanks for watching this first part, and I appreciate you taking your time, and we hope this has been very helpful and instructive to you. Hello brothers, it's Frankie with meekspace.com. Today I wanted to demonstrate the SoundBox software for you. Now this is going to be a three-part video. We're going to have one part where I just basically demonstrate how the SoundBox program works in a test environment like I have here. And then we're going to have a part on the video that actually shows you SoundBox operating at a Kingdom Hall. And then we're going to have a part that actually breaks down the SoundBox program and shows you how all of the functions work and how to configure the system. So this first part, I'm just going to kind of go through what we would normally do in a meeting and show you what the SoundBox program is capable of doing. This test environment that you see here, this monitor on the left, let's say that monitor is the TVs or the projector screen at the front of your hall. This monitor here in the middle is the computer monitor that's on the PC where you've installed SoundBox, so it's going to be back on the sound console. And then this monitor to the right, it's going to be your timer display, and it would typically be facing the platform or the stage so that the brother giving the part can see that screen. So that's kind of what this test environment is meant to be, and I'm just going to show you typically what you would do with SoundBox if you had it installed at your congregation. So the brother would come in that's assigned for the console, he'll get it all powered up, and then he'll launch SoundBox. So you notice what's happening. A lot of things are going on here. You notice that the background music started playing right away. That's an option that can be turned on and off. You notice on the left here, on the TVs at the front of the congregation or the Kingdom Hall, the year's text was presented to you, and that would be presented to you in whatever language you logged into SoundBox as. And then you notice on the right we have the time and the next song number presented to us, so that the speaker could see what's happening. Now the background music's just going to cycle through different songs automatically, and so the next thing the brother would do is he would talk with the speaker and ask him what his song's going to be, because SoundBox knows that the next meeting is a Sunday, so it knows that first song needs to be added manually. So the brother says, I'm going to sing song 120. So you'll just punch in the song, and then the chairman gets up on the stage and he presents the opening comments and introduces the first song. So you'll, as a sound operator, you'll go ahead and cancel the background music, and we'll go ahead and start playing the first song. So you'll notice some other things happening on the front TVs at the front of the congregation or front of the Kingdom Hall. Over here you've got lyrics on the front screens. So they're going to start scrolling as they need to. This will allow the friends to sing the song just by looking up at the TV screens or the projection screen. They won't need their songbooks or anything like that. They'll be able to sing nice and loud with their heads up, and you'll really get some nice singing done because you're not having to look down. Now this is a feature that can be turned off or on. Your congregation body of elders may decide that they don't want to use the lyrics, and that's up to them. That can be turned off or on. So when the song's finished, it'll fade back to the year's text, and then of course the prayer will be given, and then the in this case, since it's going to be a Sunday meeting, what we would do is come down to timer, and the brother would get up on the stage to start his talk. And so we would come up to timer, and we'd click Sunday, and we would hit start on the public talk. So now the brother is going to be giving his talk, and he's got 30 minutes to present that talk. And you notice over here to the right, he's looking at the timer as it's counting down. And this will help him keep track of where he's at in his discourse, and make sure he ends on time. It'll be green as long as he's got time. When it's under 30 seconds, it'll be yellow. When he needs to wrap it up, it'll be red, and it'll be in the negative counting. So that's how that works. So then let's say the speaker finishes on this particular Sunday, and then the brother will get up and introduce the watchtower conductor or the watchtower overseer, and he'll start the watchtower study, and he has an hour, and so the timer will automatically start running for him as he does that. And so we'll go ahead and stop this. Now, if this was a midweek meeting, we have timers for the treasures part, the ministry part, and the living part. And so under treasures, the brother would start the 3-minute comments and stop it when it's done. The 10-minute talk, and stop that when it's finished. The digging for spiritual gems, and stop that. And then the Bible reading. And if the brother if the individual giving the Bible reading goes over too far, you can ring a bell, since it's a student part. Then we'd move on to the ministry. If it's the first meeting of the month, then it'll be the 15-minute part with the 3 videos. So you'll start the timer for him. And then we would go down to media, and we would need to play the sample presentations. So under media, the brother says, let's watch the first one. So you'll click on it and hit play. You'll notice here to the left,
we all need comfort at times.
it's going to go ahead and play the video on the TVs or the projector
I guess
screen.
from our family and friends.
Those are definitely good sources.
When it finishes, and then he introduces the second one, you'll select it. Now you can point at it, and it'll give you a screenshot of what it looks like, or which video it's going to be. And you just hit play, and we'll watch the second video.
The back page asks this interesting question. What is the kingdom of God? Something?
When we're done with that, we'll move on to the third one.
As humans, all of us have a need to be loved by other people. But what about our relationship with God? How can we know if He...
Now, of course, the brother's finished with his time over here, so we've watched all of the videos, and he finished up his part. So if you're running the console, you're going to go back to timer, and you're going to go ahead and stop that. And then we're going to move on to the living section of the meeting. And so this first part, the brother will have his 5 minutes to present his part. When he's finished, then the 10-minute part will be introduced. And if you have a video for that, the brother at the back will go down and he'll introduce and play that video.
In October 2014, an announcement was made at the annual meeting introducing...
So once you're finished with that, you'll go ahead and it'll finish on its own and go back to the year text. And so that's how, you would run through a midweek meeting. Of course, you're always going to pay attention to your timers and stop and start them as you need to. And there's a couple of other features that we'll talk about in the explanation part of this video later on. So yeah, really that's kind of a rough draft of how all of this works. One thing that we're going to do is remember, when we're going to finish up the meeting, we're going to go back to music and we're going to play the final song. You notice the lyrics again here on the left. And as we need to, the screen will start scrolling the lyrics for us. So we'll finish up the meeting. The brother will say the prayer, then you'll come back and you'll play the background music. So friends, that's just kind of a overview of how SoundBox would work. Now this is just a test environment that I wanted to show you. And the next part of the video, we're actually going to show you what SoundBox looks like at a Kingdom Hall. And we'll basically run through the exact same thing we did here, show you how you would present a midweek meeting, how you present a Sunday meeting, and what it looks like at an actual Kingdom Hall. And then finally, we're going to zoom in on this SoundBox software, and we're going to break down each section of this SoundBox software for you so you better understand what everything's for and how to set things up. So we appreciate you watching this first part of this video, and we hope you stand by and watch the other two sections of this video. So thank you for watching.
Hello again, brothers. This is Frankie with meekspace.com. This is our third installment of the SoundBox overview, and what we wanted to do in this video is go a little bit more in depth on the different options and the different sections of SoundBox. As you notice here now, we have SoundBox running, and we're going to go ahead and start with the options menu. If you click on options, there's a lot of things that you can adjust or change or set up in relationship to SoundBox. I do want to point you to a couple of websites. The main website listed here is where you can download the software for free, and there's some other apps that you can download for your tablets or your phone. And then the second one is the Facebook page, and the reason this link is important is here on the Facebook page is where all of the latest updates and the latest news to SoundBox will show up, so you can keep yourself up to date on what's changed and what's coming in the future with SoundBox. Alright, so the first thing you'll want to do is make sure that your MP3s are up to date. You can click on this button and you'll get a pop-up menu that will allow you to click install and install all the music. Now when you initially installed SoundBox, you had the opportunity to do this, and if you did, you should be fine, but there are changes once in a while to the songs, and so once in a while you'll want to come in here and just install the music again. The next thing is the update lyrics button. This will go out and get the lyrics for the songs, and of course that's done in the language that you're logged into as, so you'll only get one version of lyrics per version of SoundBox that you have running. You in our case, at our congregation or our Kingdom Hall, we have 3 congregations, 2 English and 1 Spanish. So each congregation has their own Windows login, and by doing that, that allows each congregation to have their own options settings for SoundBox. Now we're all still using the same install of SoundBox, but because we have different Windows logins, we can each set all of our options differently. And also this allows us to log into SoundBox with different languages if we need to. So for instance, the Spanish log in as the Spanish language, and so when they do the update song lyrics, they get theirs in Spanish. The next one is a very exciting new feature called media subscriptions. Now what this allows you to do is subscribe to all media, videos only or images only. Now what that does for you is it automatically downloads the media content to SoundBox for you. So if you want it to automatically download all the videos, all the images that we'll be using at the meetings, then you'll put a check here and subscribe to all media. If you only want it to do video or images, you would check the respective boxes. But if you want all media, just check the all media subscription and then say OK, and you'll be subscribed, and you don't have to worry about going and looking for your videos. They'll automatically be in SoundBox each week. Finally, want you to make sure you go in and look at the credits. There's a lot of brothers involved in creating SoundBox. I myself am not involved at all. We just use it at our congregation, and I've made the effort to become familiar with the software program. I'm excited to have it. I'm excited to use it, and I'm excited that all of these brothers have contributed their time and efforts to making it work and progressing the software, improving the software. So I want to say thank you to these brothers here. Now this little box here is the remote device connection information screen. It tells you whether or not you have remote devices enabled, and that's a setting under settings that we'll talk about a little bit. As you can see, I have mine turned on, and I'm allowing timer, media, songs, and UDP to connect up. The IP address for my SoundBox server is, the IP address of my computer that it's running on, and I don't have an access code set. So that's that first screen. Now you can enable Dropbox, and what this is for is recordings. So over here, if you plan on doing recordings of the meeting, then you can use Dropbox, and so you just put a check in that box, and you can go and configure your Dropbox account where it's going to upload those recordings if you choose to do that. Of course, this is just a test environment that I'm showing you here, so have no need to do that. And currently, our 3 different congregations are not, none of us are really doing the record functionality right now. Alright, let's go into the settings menu. Now, the settings menu is divided up into different sections. You'll notice audio, Dropbox, media, miscellaneous, remote, song lyrics, and timer. I'm not going to go through every setting, quite frankly, just because I don't know what all the settings are yet. But what I do recommend you do is come up here where it says hit F1 for help. So if I hit F1, we're going to get this dialog help menu pop up, and you can use this to go through and learn what each and every one of these options does for you specifically, and I would recommend you take the time necessary to do that. And in fact, I'd do it more than once so you can really become familiar with everything. So we'll just get started here. The first section we're going to look at is the audio section, and this would be if you're going to really be doing the recording functionality. There's options you can turn on and off, and you can specify where your CD drive is if you have one, and all of these types of things. We're not really using this at our Kingdom Hall for any of our congregations, so I'm just going to skip past this. The one thing I will mention is the one that's got the little arrow next to it, which is background music. We'll go ahead and check on that, and there are a few options under that. This is kind of important. So you can have your background music when it's playing. You can have it automatically stop. You can choose no, not have it stop, or you can go 15, 30 minute, 2 minute, or 3 minutes. Now what that means is that coming up on the hour, it only works for meetings that start on the hour or the half hour. And so what it'll do is, 15 seconds before the meeting starts, it'll stop the background music. Well, that's usually not enough time. Even 30 seconds is usually not enough time. A minute may be enough time. I set mine for 3 minutes just, stop the background music. That gives the chairman enough time to get up there and get comfortable and introduce the meeting, and then he's obviously you don't have to worry about turning the background music off. So I would recommend turning that on to 3 minutes. Now this is a feature that I use. Not all of our congregations use it at our hall, but ours does. This is background music on launch, so when I start SoundBox, it automatically starts playing the background music. I like that feature and we're using it. Also background music snippets. So what it does here is it just plays a little bit of each song so that you get more variety of background music instead of having to listen to an entire song before it goes to the next one and the next one. I like this feature, and so we currently use that right now. This miscellaneous background music, if you turn that on, what that would do is cause you to, I'm going to click here and let's see, I was hoping it would say up here, but it doesn't. But it allows you to put your music in a miscellaneous folder, and you can have SoundBox choose to play music from a different folder or a different directory. We don't use that, we just use the default. Alright, so that's the few settings under audio that we'll talk about. Coming down to Dropbox, again, we don't use Dropbox because we're not doing recordings right now, so I'm not really going to go into that, but you can see there's some adjustments you can make here. So our next section is media. The first option basically does what it says. It aligns the video to the top of the screen. This is handy for if you have a projection screen and you want to be able to move the video to the top if maybe your projector doesn't fill the entire screen. Here it allows an image cursor, the mirror functionality. This will allow you to mirror like websites so that the sound console operator can manipulate the screen and move to different menus on a web page. It's sometimes if your sound console is at the back of your hall, it's hard to see the web page properly, and this lets you mirror it right on your display, and so it's easier for the operator to move around. Allow video scrubbing. I read up about this but forgot about it, so I'll just let you use the F1 and get a better understanding what that does for you. Same thing with color coded bars. This one's a good one because it'll allow you to save space on your hard drive, to have it delete the old media items that's downloaded. That way you don't have to worry about deleting them. The fade in and fade out of the image is good. I believe this was default on, but you can disable them if you want. This one some congregations may choose to use. When you put an image up on the TVs, you can also put a check mark here and it'll put the image on the timer monitor. What's good about that is that the brother on the stage, if you don't have a secondary monitor for him to look at, and if he can't see the screens, the TVs, if it's displayed on the timer monitor, he'll be able to see that and see what image is up. If he's having a lot of images showed, he might want to keep track and make sure the right one's being displayed. The problem that this can cause is, like at our congregation or our Kingdom Hall, the timer displays at the very back of the hall where the sound console's at, and whenever you turn this on and when there's an image up, it minimizes the timer to a small window in the corner, and it's hard to see from the stage. So sometimes the brother on the stage can lose track of his timing because he can't see it. So we don't use this feature. In fact, we're in the process of putting another display situated in a manner where the speaker, the brother on the stage, can see it, which will be helpful for him being able to see slides and images or or know when the video is finished, as well as he'll see the lyrics for the songs. And so if you didn't have a songbook up there, you'd still be able to sing. So we're going to put a monitor facing the speaker on the stage, and so really no need for us to use this. I've tried this lock media display. What it's supposed to do is once you select a media display monitor for a specific thing, such as a timer or the media display, it'll keep it that way. But what I found happens is you can lock it, and then Windows, depending on how the monitors and how the system's turned on, it might change which display is which number. And if you've locked it, and it won't give you, it'll lock in a certain display that's the timer, but now Windows changed which number is what, and so now your timer display could be your media display, and then you couldn't change it from inside the main menu because this is checked and won't allow you to. So we don't use this. It just causes more problems and doesn't give us the flexibility of adjusting things when we need to. And I do have the remember media display on, so it'll remember the last one that you had selected, which usually solves the problem most of the time. So these do what they say. They remove the item. The rename media on drag and drop, so we'll get to how we put media files on if they're not there. And with this application, most of the media folders, you can drag and drop a file, so you can download a file onto your desktop and then you can drag it from there into SoundBox, and here it'll rename the video for you. Share media is an option that you would turn on if, say, you had two English congregations and they both use the same Windows login, but you want to share the same folder. This way you don't have two different copies of files and things. So everybody would use the same one. This is good in some ways and it's bad in others. If you have different Windows logins, it's good to, if it's the same language, to share, but you'll have to experiment with that whether or not you want to do that. Show the media calendar button is important, especially if you've got a subscription. Same with the folder button, and the tooltips is good. It'll help you in some situations. The slideshow settings, underneath that are a couple of options where you can fade in or fade out the slide, and then also you can determine the timing between the slides, which a lot of brothers will want to change because sometimes 8 seconds isn't enough and other brothers feel like it's too long, so you'll have to play with that option. Use media titles, so whatever the title is of the media, this will keep that title. You can turn that off so that it you can change the title if you want, rename your files if you want. With the subscription, I recommend just leaving it on. This is your choice of video player. I haven't really experimented with this at all, but this is the default one that it comes set to, but you obviously have different options. In particular, VLC is one that the branch recommended we use, but there are some others here, but this one's the default one. In the future, I will be playing with this to see how my system runs on using a different video player, but right now this seems to be working fine, so I'm going to leave it alone. Here's another option, much like the image option, where you can have the videos displayed on the timer display again. This is a neat option, but again, it minimizes the timer and it could disrupt the speaker, so we're not turning that on. And this allows you to change the desync setting for VLC if you choose to use that. Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is where you would set up different congregations. Um, what's nice about that is you can have, if you set different congregations up here, you don't have to have different Windows logins. The only problem is using this option, everybody has to share the same options. However, you can take the check out of share media, and everybody can have their own folders for where their media is at. Because some congregations might want to name them or do certain things with them, and the other congregation at your hall may not want to do that. And then if you've got different languages, you will want to split those up. And so this is where you can create congregations and change the names of them. Also, here is you can name your displays. If you click that, yeah, let me go back down here. If you click that, you could do like, front TVs, or you could do media, you could do timer, you could do main display. You could name them whatever you want. The problem I have found with this is sometimes Windows changes your display based on how you start the system up, and if there's a power glitch and something it's not always foolproof how Windows labels your monitors, your displays. And so you might label one media here, and then all of a sudden the one called timer becomes your media, and it's just then they become mislabeled and confusing. So I haven't bothered with naming my displays. Now I may learn something in the future, and I may have to come back and do a new video that talks about that, but right now I just leave that alone. You can show navigation button bookmarks. I've not turned on the test the internet because I know whether it's working or not, so I haven't bothered with that. Now this is where you can turn on the remote devices. So SoundBox is written in such a way that it allows external devices to connect to it to control things. And here you can allow the clock web page to work. You can do remote devices enabled, and you can allow it to do the broadcast, and then allow media and songs and timers to be controlled. So that's what all those settings are all about. Now down here under song lyrics, you can change the alignment of the lyrics. You can change the background color, the font color, the font style, the size. I know we run ours at 50, and one of the congregations is at 55, and I've even seen some as high as 65. You go much larger than in my opinion, if you go much larger than 55, it kind of distorts the text on the screens, but you can experiment with it. This can be adjusted up as high as you need it to go, but just be aware that will affect how the appearance of the lyrics on the screens. This here will override the image. If there was an image on it, it'll make sure it's gone so that the lyrics show up. And this shows how much of the display the lyrics will use. This will show checkboxes on the music page if you choose to. This is where you'll turn lyrics on and off. So if you want the lyrics to show when you play a song, you'll put a check here. If you don't, you'll take the check off. Some congregations don't want the lyrics playing, and so you can turn that function off. And this will allow the system to split the lyrics lines if it's needed for display purposes. And then finally, the option of timer. So the first thing is the adaptive timer settings, and if we click on that, that'll give us a few options for the adaptive timer. So you can have the adaptive timer be a two-way or a one-way or none, and I recommend not using the adaptive timer, but some congregations may feel that they want to do it. Now, one way or two way, I believe, I haven't read a lot on this, but I believe the one way timer is it's going to give time to you, or it's going to take time away from you, I believe. Don't quote me on that because I haven't really. So what I probably would recommend is doing the F1 and making sure you understand the difference of the adaptive timer. But what the adaptive timer is all about is, say a brother, a part goes short like 3 minutes. Supposedly, if you've got adaptive timer turned on, it gives some of that 3 minutes to the next speaker. So, if say he had a 10-minute part, it might give him 11 minutes. Well, we're really been instructed by the branch to not go over our time, and so, I don't like to use that function. Sometimes there's agreements between brothers that, because a part might be too short, or maybe the part calls for a video and the video is 7 minutes and the part is 7 minutes, and you obviously need some time to introduce and talk about it, so you need some more time. But usually that's agreed upon between the chairman and the brother that's giving the part, maybe another brother that can give him a little of his time, and then the sound console operator, he'll just use the timer and he can plus or minus the time based upon which brother needs what. So I don't use the adaptive timer, but you may want to experiment with it and decide if you like it. So let's see, this is to show if it wants, you can show adaptive time notifications, and that's the last setting here in adaptive timing. So we'll move on. Now here you can have it automatically ring the bell. I usually don't have that on. What I've noticed is it automatically rings the bell as soon as the time's up, and a lot of brothers, a lot of chairmen like to give the student a little bit of time to wrap it up, maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds, maybe even 20, 25, 30 seconds. They like to give them a little more time before they tap them, and if this is turned on, it just does it automatically. Now the chairman, he can use his tablet and one of the apps designed for SoundBox, and he can ring the bell when he wants to, or he can have the sound console operator ring the bell if, say, it goes 20 seconds over or 30 seconds over. He can ask him to ring it at that time. That's what I recommend, but you can have it do it automatically if you want. And here, if you turn off this automatic set meeting timers, it won't set the timers, and you'll have to set those yourself. With this on, it automatically sets the ones for the meeting specifically for the times that they would normally need. Display the next song number. If this is on, it's going to put the next song number on the timer display. Same thing with display the overtime notification and display time of day. So if you want the time of day, the clock on your timer, you would put checks in there. I don't think they're on by default. And then the progress bar, you can have it on as well. That may be on by default. Now, again, if you lock the timer, you can't change it if Windows changes them on you, so I don't recommend doing that. Here you can change, the timer has what's called a traffic light, which, it's green when you've got time, it's yellow when it's under 30 seconds, and it's red when you're overtime. And you can choose to use that traffic light, or you can have it be empty, or you can just have the time of day. I kind of like the traffic light, so we leave it on. Remember timer display, I do have that on usually because it's nice to have it remember what you had the monitor set to, the last time you had SoundBox open. So I'd recommend using it. And then here, this will put the timer button on the SoundBox screen. If you've decided as a body of elders you don't want the console operator ringing the bell at all, if you take this check mark out, there won't even be a ring the bell button on the screen, and so some congregation may choose to do that. and then the timer panel on the home page. What that's talking about is over here on the left. See how you can stop and start the different timers right from the home page without actually being in the timer screen. That's what that's all about. That's pretty much a rundown of our options. Now we're just going to go into the first screen, the music. And the way the music screen works is when you first launch SoundBox, it goes out on the internet if you have internet on your PC that SoundBox is installed on, and it determines what the songs are going to be. Now today's Sunday, so it automatically knows what the middle and the closing song is, but it doesn't know what the speaker song is, so it's blank, and so you would have to just type that in. Simple enough. If this was wrong, you would just type it in and it changes it automatically. And then basically you just hit play to play the song and it'll finish up and stop on its own. Background music, if you have the option turned on to start when it starts, this will automatically start playing when you start SoundBox. If you don't have that option on, then you have to come and hit play background music, and then you'll want to hit stop when the chairman's going to the stage, so he's not interrupted with music in the background. And that's really what the music screen's all about. We're not using the record or the copy, but I'll just briefly point to what they do. Under record, you can stop you can start and stop the recording, or you can turn it on so that it's automated, and it'll record your meeting and then save them. The copy screen lets you copy them to different drives, like a thumb drive or whatever. And then remember, you can have Dropbox enabled, and you can have it save those to Dropbox as well. Here you can look up, if you've got a bunch of recordings, you can isolate them so you can find them faster. Moving on, we've done the options, so our next one is timer. Now the timer screen, this is where all your timers are preset. If you have the option turned on to set your timers automatically, then the app will automatically set your correct times for the parts. So it's divided into sections: treasures, ministry, living, then the Sunday meeting, and then you've got a page of miscellaneous timers. So under treasures, you could this is where you'd stop and start, or you could do the front one here depending on the meeting. But so here you can stop and start the 10-minute part, the digging for spiritual gems, and the Bible reading. If you put a check under the circuit visit, what that'll do is, if you go over to ministry, this check will allow you to do the first meeting of the month, which is the videos, or the 3 student parts. On living, if you would have put a check under the circuit visit, on living, you notice we've got the 30-minute Bible study and then a 3-minute concluding. If we go back and put that check in circuit visit, so if it's the week of your circuit overseer visit, you notice how it gives the 3 minutes for the concluding comments, and then it leaves that 30 minutes to the circuit overseer's service talk. The same thing on Sunday. It takes 30 minutes away from the watchtower and gives that to the circuit overseer for his closing talk. That's if this is checked. Now if it's unchecked, moving on to Sunday, you've got your 30-minute talk and your 60-minute watchtower study. And here's this adaptive timer we talked a little bit about. If you turn that on, it's going to try to give time to different ones depending on if you have one-way or two-way. So that's what that's all about. I think you can also turn this off where it doesn't show or where it locks it, and I think I may do that on ours. I haven't got that enabled now, but a few times it's been turned on when it shouldn't have been. Moving on to the miscellaneous tab, this allows you to adjust the timer. So what I've done in the past is again, like in the living section of the meeting, the part may be a 10-minute part, but you really need 12 minutes in order to cover it, because it was it's just that's what you need. And so you can give them 2 extra minutes here from this screen, but you can also use miscellaneous timers here. Now what I've used miscellaneous timers for as well is, say in here you forget to start this timer, and you don't know what their time is. You could go to miscellaneous and you could adjust this one down to like this. If you look at the clock, and you can gauge how much time they've got left, and then you can get that set right, and then you could start a timer for them. I would never recommend, if you forget to start the timer, I would never recommend that you just start the timer. I would recommend that you look at the clock, find out where they're at, and adjust the time for what they officially should have, and then start the timer on that time. That way you don't mess them up. You know, if they've been talking for 3 minutes and their time is 10 minutes, and then you throw up 10 minutes, they know they don't have 10 minutes, but it's going to be very confusing to them. So don't do that to the poor brother. Make sure you adjust the timer. If you're late starting it, make sure you adjust it properly before you start it. And this is what these are allowing us to do. Now over here, you notice you don't have adjustments. So if you forgot to start it here, you could bounce over to here and use this. Say for instance, here I forget to start the 15-minute timer, and he's been talking for 3 minutes, so he's got 12 minutes. I could jump over here and move this to 12 and hit start, and then his timing would be on track, and it wouldn't throw him off. That's how I use these this miscellaneous tab. Okay, that's pretty much the timing. Keep in mind up here is your target display, so this determines where the timer is going to be displayed at. So you can change it to be this screen. So right now you can't see it, but my monitor that I'm looking at now is showing the time instead of my secondary monitor. And so you can change that to be, you know, the front TVs. You can change it to be the monitor you're working on, or you can change it to the timer display. And so be cautious about this. You can also say none, and sometimes you have to change it to none so that you can change another one, because you can't change a display if something else is already using it, so you may have to put it to none in order to make adjustments. Okay, let's move on to media. Now media, we've got 3 tabs. Now again, you've got the same target display. You've got to tell SoundBox where you want to display the media, and so you should have 3 different displays if you've set things up properly. You could even have more, but why you would have 3 is you would have the monitor that you actually work with on the PC. You would have the TVs at the front of the stage or the projection screen, and then you would have the timer display. So you should have 3 displays minimum in order to use all the functionality of SoundBox. Now you can add displays with you can buy USB displays if you don't have enough video outputs, but I recommend you getting a PC with a video card that's got 3 outputs, or a laptop that's got 2 outputs because it's got a built-in screen. Either one of those works really good. So make sure you have the display chosen that you need to be chosen. Now these different buttons actually show you folders. Like if I clicked on video and I hit the folder button, it's just going to open up that folder. This folder's right now too big for the screen I've got, so if I shrunk it down and moved it into the screen here, you can see the whole folder. But all that's doing is opening up the videos folder that's located under the SoundBox folder. And by clicking this one and clicking the folder, again it shows me the folder websites that's under SoundBox. So that's all that's really doing. But also you can drag and drop a video into here from your desktop, or you can drag and drop a website shortcut or a PDF into here, and in the images and audio you can drag a image or an audio track into here. You can even do a folder that's got images in it, and it'll create a folder, kind of a slideshow folder for you. So under videos, if you just leave it at the standard folder, this folder is just a folder called videos under SoundBox. All of the, if you subscribe to a subscription, those are downloaded under the media calendar folder, and so up here you'd need to click the media calendar folder to put a checkbox in, and then this opens up a navigation screen that lets you move between the weeks, because it uses a calendar to determine what to show you here. So this week is the weekend, and so we don't have anything to show. But if we went back to last week, see, it knows that we had the 3 presentations, and then we had the part on the meeting that let us watch this organizational accomplishments video. So that's how we would see the ones specifically for the meeting that we are conducting right now. So this week we don't have anything. Now next week we've got the one video, and so by having this check mark in or out, it determines what we see or what we don't see. So if you're going to use subscriptions, I recommend you always keep the calendar checked and that you can rotate through here, because if I open this, if I've got this checked and I'm on videos and I click the calendar folder, this is a totally different folder than the other one, and so you could get confused. You notice this is not directly under SoundBox. This is under you know, it's deeper in the tree, and so that's what you want to be careful of. If I've clicked this, it'll go up to the media calendar, then it goes up to SoundBox eventually. But see, it's a totally different folder, and it's marked by the year, and then every week has its own folder. So you could get confused if you don't understand how that works. So take some time to learn how this works, because you can drag and drop files into here, which is going to be a different folder than if you had this turned off. So you know, take some time to familiarize yourself, drag and drop things, and understand where those folders are, so that you know, don't confuse yourself. So that's the video section. If we move on to the websites and PDFs, again, if you've got the calendar turned on, it's not going to show you anything for the week if there's not something to show. And so in this case, you may have to turn that off in order to see your standard websites, like broadcasting, jw.org. This one I just put in here as a test. I'm going to go show you how to delete those. So if you're highlighted on that folder, you hit folder, then you can go and just delete those shortcuts out of there. Obviously we don't want anything that's you know, not related to our theocratic schedule here, and we don't want to show you know, third-party websites and things on the you know, at the Kingdom Hall unless we're instructed by the branch. So it's important to keep that in mind. But this is how you again could delete things, or you could create a shortcut and drag it and drop it here. You could even drag and drop it right into here as well. So this will do web pages, or it'll do PDF files. So you can drop a PDF in here and display it on the screen as well. Images is where the subscription automatically downloads the images here for you that you would use. If you point at it, it'll show you a little thumbnail of what that image is. And then you can also hit preview, and it'll show it on your monitor right here. It won't display it to the front monitor. It'll just preview it for you, but pointing at it is just as good. You just click it and hit show, and it'll show it on the whatever display you have selected here. Pretty easy. If you have several images in a folder and you click on it, you can hit slideshow, or you can go through each one. Now you have to show it first, and then you can go one at a time, back or forward, or you can click this and it'll wait the allowed times that you specified in options to play those, to move on to the next one. So that's how the slideshow works. Now also this section is for audio files. So if we're supposed to play like a Bible dramatic reading or something, or a drama or something, we would get that audio file and drop it into here. If you've subscribed to a media, it should already be here for you when the time comes. So really that's a rundown, brothers, of how to use SoundBox and the different screens and what they're for. Again, you may want to take some time to go to that F1 and read the help. There's also a PDF you can download from this website right here, the c8.org.uk/soundbox. There's a PDF that will break down all of the settings and explain things better for you. So I know I didn't go in depth and to every one of these options, but I hope that what I've been able to do here today for you will help you better understand what SoundBox is capable of and how to utilize it for your congregation. So thank you very much for watching.